Hey crafty friends, it's Rick. I'm back with another video. Today we are featuring products from CC Designs, and we're going to make 3 clean and simple 1-layer cards using the Green 1 stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and make my card bases first. So I've got 2 pieces of ultra thick Nina cardstock. I'm going to score these at 5.5. and fold them in half to make my card bases. So we'll go ahead and do our second one. I've got my guillotine trimmer here because I'm going to cut my card bases in half. So we're going to cut those down to 4 1/4. That gives me 2 top folding card bases. And we'll go ahead and do our third one. And I have a bonus card base to use if I need it. I'm going to pull in my little mini Misty here. And we're going to go ahead and stamp our images. And I'm going to stamp one of each of our images on each card base. And I'm just going to stamp in tuxedo black ink. So I'm going to ink this up really well. And I'll stamp this down. I'll probably have to stamp this twice. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and stamp this one more time to get a nice, good impression. This stamp set has actually sold out and been restocked a couple times. So it's super popular. So if it's something that interests you, I would totally grab it now before it sells out again. All right, I'm going to switch to one of the other images on the stamp set. And I'm going to move him to another position on a different card base. We'll go ahead and ink him up with our tuxedo black ink. I am going to do a little simple alcohol marker coloring. We'll go ahead and stamp him a second time. All right, I'm pulling in my third card base. And we will find our position for him. I will ink it up with our tuxedo black. All right, there is our stamping on all 3 cards. I'm going to wait about doing our sentiments until after I get everything else done. So I'm going to set my Misty to the side right here. All right, I have a set of just basic shaped mass stencils. I'm going to use these to add a little color. All right, I pulled out 2 colors of distress inks, Festive Berry and Pine Needle. And I'm going to add a little color to our circle. Just on this side right here. I'm going to add just a little over on this other side. Because this helps define our focal area. So that we can use that again. This is one way I love to mass produce little cards, is by using this stencil set, or a stencil set and a stamp set, to add a focal image. It gives it a grounding place. And it adds a little bit of interest to keep our cards super simple and easy. We're going to start off with our green. I'm going to do a lighter shade here to give me a little focal area. And the color, it could be any color. You can do whatever you want. I'm just kind of pick colors that matched our image. I'm going to add just a little festive berry on this side. To add a little bit of a difference there. All right, for our next one, we're going to take and flip this around. Just like so. And then we will add our color for our focal area. Just add that in. So if we got a little smudgy there, we'll go a little bit heavier to kind of hide that. Just kind of brush that around. We'll remove that. All right, now comes the fun part. We're going to add a little bit of color. So I'm going to use my Olo markers today. And we're going to do some just simple coloring. I'm going to add in the dark on my little Grinch with just G107. And since I'm going to try to do all of my shadow area first. Give him a little shadow there. And I remember watching this as a kid, and I always loved the Grinch. He was one of my favorites. And just funny enough, this year for Christmas, we actually found a large wood cutout of the Grinch that can go on the front porch. So he will be going up on our porch for Christmas this year. I'm super excited. I adore the Grinch. Not a big fan of the movie, but I do love the original cartoon. All right, now I'm going to do G1.4 next, and I'm just going to blend all this together. We're not doing super heavy, lots of coloring work. We're just going to do pretty simple coloring. I'm going to move him to the side because we're going to do all of our Grinches at the same time while I have all these colors out. That way it makes it a lot easier than switching back and forth between lots of colors. We add our green to his little fingers here. That scrawny little leg. I'll switch over to my 1.5. Add that in. And we'll switch to our 1.4. And I know some people out there are going, I'm not surprised he liked the Grinch. I love a classic. There's that one. All right, we're going to come back to our G1.7. And I'll color that. His little shadow areas. I'm going to switch up the color combination just a little on this card because I can. So there's our G1.7. I'll switch to the 1.5. And then I'm going to switch completely to a 5.3 and a 5.1 to give him a little bit of a more of a yellowy green color. Just to change him up just a little. I'm actually going to use that color on his eyes as well. So we're going to color his little eyes with the 5.1. And then on this card over here, we're going to use this green combination on some of our ornaments. So we'll add where we want this color to be in some of these ornaments over here. And I'm just coloring most of them the same. Then I'm going to switch to 5 or 5.3. I'm going to have some of the ornaments in this pinky combination as well. And I'll switch to our 5.1. I'll blend that, because this is going to be my, I'm going to use this on my Cindy Lou Who. So I've switched over to 5.5 or 5.5 as my darkest color for her little shadows. Then I can switch to my 5.3. And blend that. And I'll switch to my 5.1. We'll give her a little color. And I just realized I forgot some of his foot. So you have her little bow. So I'm going to color, add that to his foot. All right, so we're going to go back to our Grinch over here. I'm going to do his little bag. I'm just forgetting a lot of stuff. I forgot his leg on this side. I thought his leg was on the inside of the chimney. There. All right, I'm going to switch over to OR 4.2. These are actually the colors I'm going to use for Cindy Lou's skin tone as well. Then I'm going to switch over to 4.1. So there's all that. Now we're going to do her little skin tone while we got our colors out. I'm going to go with OR 4.2 or 4.2 as my darkest color. I'm going to use 4.1 as my light mid-tone. And my lightest is 4.0. Now we're going to give a little Miss Who her hair. So I'm going to use YO 2.3. And YO 2.2. Then we'll color her little buttons right there. I'm going to do his little belt as well. Buckle. So we'll add those two colors into his belt buckle. And then we're going to add some to our ornaments. To finish those off, let's color up our box over here. So we're just going to use that OR 4.4 and 4.2 for our box. And if you haven't noticed, we're using the same colors so that we can actually, if we wanted to, you can do these as a card set. And see, our cardstock is thick enough that you don't have to really worry about it bleeding through the inside. All right, we're going to color up our Grinch's Santa outfit. So I'm going to start off with R 1.8 as my darkest color. So I'm going to lay in where I want those shadows to be. So I'll do his little feet. Let's set that to the side. I'm going to use R 1.7 next as my mid-tone color. Let's come right up under there. Add in our color for our shoe. Then I'm going to switch over to R 1.5 as my highlight. And then my bricks, I'm just going to add some color in there. All right, we're going to go on to our next little Santa. So I'm going to move my markers over here. I'm going to come back with my same color combination. And we will lay in that for our Grinch on this side, this card. He makes me laugh. I don't know why. Just brings back fond memories of childhood. It's just like our Rudolph set brought back such fond memories of watching that, waiting every year to see that special on TV, and just thoroughly enjoying it as a child. Always made me happy as a kid. That and Frosty. right, we're going to switch over to our next card so we can color him up as well. Add in our shadow. And remember, it's okay if you leave a little bit of white on him, his outfit. If you miss a spot while you're coloring, it's okay. Don't fret. It will be okay. Nobody will know that that's not intentional and was supposed to not be there. I think a lot of times we get too hung up on perfection, and we don't have to be. You should just enjoy the process of making. And especially with something like the Grinch, if you miss a spot, it's okay because it kind of adds to the charm. I do want to come back in to his eyes and give them a little bit more yellow. Make them look a little bit more menacing. All right, we're going to do our fur next. And I'm just going to use WG1 and WG0 for that. So I'm just going to add my shadows in. On him. Then I'll switch over to my WG0, blend that out. Give his little teeth a little color. And I'm going to take a colorless blender and soften that to the white of the paper. All right, we're going to come back to this card over here. I'm going to add in WG5 to our parts of our chimney that needs a little coloring. So we're going to add that in. Then I'll switch over to my WG3. And blend that together. And on that part of the chimney, I'm going to let it just kind of blend out and have that little line there. For my little roof shutters, I'm going to add in my OR 4.4. Just right over top of that. And then I can come back over that one more time and darken that up in certain areas to add just a little shadow. To give it a little bit of a subtle difference. All right, now we're going to stamp our sentiments. So we're going to pull our stamp positioning tool back out. We'll take our card. I'm going to stamp a sentiment on each one of them. And I'm going to stamp those in VersaFine Nocturne ink because it's a nice crisp black ink. There's card number 1. Card number 2. Then we've got our last little card, and then we can start our next step, which is embellishing. I always love a stamp set that has Bah-Humbug. Brings out my inner Grinch. All right, my friends, so now we're going to embellish our card. So I'm going to come in and add some little highlights onto certain areas of our stamped and colored images first. So we can get that out of the way. So we'll add each one. We'll get a few little highlights. And I can cover up any mishaps. Because, you know, we all get a mishap here and now. Here and there. I wonder if his heart did grow 5 sizes. There's that one. We've got our other little card here. So we'll add some highlights to this. And originally I had a different stamp set picked out to work today, but then I remembered I had this one. And I bought it last year and never got a chance to use it. So since it was in stock when I started the other day when I was looking, I decided it was perfect time. All right, now we're going to pick certain areas and add some Stardust stickles. And I am going to add a few rhinestones here and there to each of our cards. I'm just going to add the stickles to the white of his fur on his outfit. Because, you know, it is a Christmas card. There has to be some sparkly. All right, I'm going to start off with our Grinch Please card. We're going to add 3 right on the right-hand side. And I'm going to use pink rhinestones because those fell out. And we're going to use those up first. And since Cindy Lou is in her little pink outfit, it does tie that in a little bit better. Now I can add a couple more up through our up through there as well if I wanted to. So there's that one. Now we've got our Bah-Humbug. So we're going to add a couple around our Bah-Humbug. We're going to do our green and our red. And we've got our last card right here. And since I need to hide that little spot right there, we're going to add some right there. Here. All about hiding our mistake. Sometimes our mistake guides where our embellishments need to go. That's just how it works. All right, my friends, here are our 3 Grinch-inspired 1-layer Christmas cards using the Green 1 stamp set from CC Designs and a simple coloring with our Olo markers. If you want any of the products, I will have them linked and listed below. There's always pictures on my blog that you can get a closer look along with the supply list. If that works for you better, I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.